going to go ahead and mute myself.
Okay, Dr. Irgau, we are live.
Great.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone can actually hear us fine. I'll just wait for 1 second for the confirmation. Dr. Irgau, you're able to hear me okay?
I can hear you, Kemal. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm actually looking at the CHRIAS one. I don't see CHRIAS being live. And that one is live as well. All right. So, sorry, we are maybe a couple minutes late. Today, actually, I'm home, so wasn't feeling so great this week. But I think one of the advantages of these events, so we can make them anytime, so wherever we are. So this is American Surgery Center with the partnership with CHRIAS. And I have Dr. Isaias Irgau, as usual, with me for our Wednesday weekly sessions. And today we are going to discuss the maintaining weight after bariatric surgery, which is one of the challenges. Dr. Irgau, if you can please introduce yourself, and then we can just start from there.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Kemal. Kemal, I'm really happy you're feeling better and you were able to make it to today's session. I am Dr. Irgau. I am the president of CHRIAS, or Christiana Institute of Advanced Surgery. My area of expertise is bariatric surgery or weight loss surgery, and I have been performing weight loss surgery now for almost 20 years. With my associates at CHRIAS, we are really by far the most experienced group when it comes to bariatric surgery in our area. As you can see in this slide, beside myself, there is Dr. Gail Wynn, there is Dr. Michael Peters, Dr. Raul Singh, Dr. George Ibrahim, who are the main bariatric surgeons. There's also Dr. Sachin Vaid in our practice. He is our lead colorectal surgeon. And there is Sydney Ondrasix, who is our physician assistant. So that's really the surgical team. And then on the other side, you could see our nutritionists. There is Amy Wilcoxon, and there is Fran Taccone, Beth Wright, and they are really the main anchor for us as far as nutritional evaluation, education, and support within our program. And as I mentioned earlier on, we are by far the most experienced group in our area. We have performed now over 10,000 bariatric surgeries successfully since the onset of our program, over 1,000 surgeries in the last 3 years alone. We have set up centers of excellence throughout the state of Delaware in the main areas health systems, but also more recently at the American Surgery Center, which happens to be a center of excellence for bariatric surgery, one of the very few centers of excellence in bariatric surgery as an ambulatory surgery center in the United States.
So, Dr. Irgau, as the multidisciplinary approach and how we are actually getting our patients ready for the surgery, one of the difficulties, as usual, after we get to that success. In fact, I just remember your patient last week that you brought up in the case conference, and if I'm not mistaken, patient was about 120 pounds. Surgery was in August 2020. And that was, you were sharing that with us because
yes.
it deserves a celebration. On the other hand, I was also kind of worried about what that patient may be going through to keep up with the weight loss. So what are the challenges that is expected for that patient? Can you actually, if you can walk us through with that?
Absolutely. Actually, Kemal, thank you for reminding me about that wonderful story from last week, because as we were saying, really the bariatric coordinators who are in our meetings on a daily basis to look at the status of the bariatric process for all of our patients, that group of bariatric coordinators really is a very, very important component of our program. But it's interesting, as we were saying last week, that those coordinators actually meet our patients before surgery, right? They meet them before the surgery and they take them through. They have very close, they build very close relationship with those patients because they are taking them through and helping them navigate the system that requires so many preparatory meetings, encounters, consultations, and tests, right? So they know our patients when our patients are still struggling with weight. But interestingly, they don't see our patients after our patients have had surgery and now they are succeeding with their weight loss. So that is an area, of course, that I, as a surgeon, and my colleagues also see because we follow the patients after surgery and we celebrate with our patients the success, just like the patient that you mentioned who had surgery in August, and he's about 120 pounds lower than the weight he had started, with much improved parameters as far as his metabolic health is concerned. So as you correctly said, then, are there struggles after bariatric surgery? Is it all celebration? Is it all happiness? Or do patients struggle? Clearly, it is actually important that we educate our patients from the get-go that bariatric surgery is not a magic answer, right? Bariatric surgery is a tool, right? It's a very, very powerful tool, but nevertheless, it's a tool, right? And a tool requires somebody to use it. And that's the key thing that we have to emphasize, right? We have to tell our patients that the attempts that they have made throughout their life to lose weight by, eating healthy food, by working out and exercising, those things did not help them to lose weight. They did them time and time and time again. And that's why they came to us when all those things failed. So when they come to us, we tell them, look, we will give you bariatric surgery, but we don't want you to stop the attempts that you did before, right? The healthy eating has to continue. The regular physical activity has to continue. We are just going to add bariatric surgery to those efforts to make them even more powerful. So this is something we tell our patients from the get-go. It's one of the very first things we discuss when we first start our consultation, because there is really a perception out there that bariatric surgery somehow is like a magic wand. In fact, many people who really don't struggle with weight look at patients who are looking into bariatric surgery as if these patients are choosing the easy way out, right? As if struggling with weight has an easy way out, but it doesn't. Even bariatric surgery really, although it gives you a very powerful tool to fight obesity, it's not by itself an easy way out because you still have to work. The biology that was the cause for your obesity in the first place, that biology remains. That's not taken away, right? So you have to work constantly. So the work that the patient has started with us in understanding what they need to do to be able to stay healthy, that work has to continue day after day, right? So the struggles with not losing enough weight or the struggles with struggling with weight regain are going to be there, particularly in times of crisis in their life. And it's important for patients to understand that, to have that knowledge. So with that knowledge, they are empowered really to take steps. So weight regain doesn't happen and struggling with weight doesn't become an issue for them for the rest of their lives.
So, Dr. Irgau, I'm just gonna, I think I was actually just talking to Tanner. I was able to take over from here. Let me just make sure that I have that. So one of the things for these patients, this change that you are talking about, this is a pretty important one, right? So, and there are so many different challenges for them that they are going to go through. And in those cases, how is that how are they going to adapt so quickly? Because the weight loss comes, well, it's a great thing that weight loss comes so quickly. How would they actually kind of like cope with those changes?
Absolutely. So the weight loss occurs and occurs dramatically because there are two very important things that can happen because of the changes of the surgery, okay? One, the surgery itself actually induces some very important changes in the metabolism of the person, okay? How the body processes energy is changed by the surgery. Sometimes people think the surgery just has some mechanical impact by really forbidding the person from overeating, right? Or by helping them to take away hunger. Yes, those things do happen, but there are also what we call important metabolic changes. The way the digestive system communicates with our brain is actually impacted because many of the messengers that are responsible for that communication are positively impacted by the surgery, so that a situation is created where the patient really finds it a lot easier now to lose weight than they did before, right? I mean, patients will be eating way less calories with the surgery than they did before the surgery. But patients also have adopted diets that were reducing their calories even to that extent before, and yet the weight loss did not happen when they did this without the surgery, right? So the key here is that the surgery is not only reducing the amount of calorie you consume because you have a smaller stomach and also because you are less hungry. On top of that, the surgery induces changes to the metabolism, to the way the body processes energy. As you recall, Kemal, in the past, our society, the Society of Bariatric Surgeons, it used to be called American Society of Bariatric Surgery, right? We changed that name. We now call ourselves American Society of Metabolic and Bariatric Surgeons because we believe that the changes that we induce are not only purely mechanical by reducing the amount of food the person eats, but there are changes that impact the metabolism as well. Right? So this is really the foundation of the surgery. That's why the surgery is so powerful, right? But interestingly, over time, that biology that drives the person's weight to go up wakes up, right? The body tries again to remember the weight that the person was before, and it tries to induce that. So hunger may not return. The amount of food that the person can eat may still be the same, but if the person now changes their behavior and they start, for instance, eating small amounts of food continuously, particularly with foods that are very high in calorie, then they start consuming so much more extra calories than the body can quickly revert towards conserving energy and then gaining weight, right? So we tell our patients there are some important rules after bariatric surgery. First of all, when you're eating and you feel full, listen to your body. If you feel full, don't eat anymore. That should be the most important clue. Don't eat if you're not hungry, right? Don't snack mindlessly. There is something that we call grazing, for instance. Grazing is really a word that we use to point out to a behavior whereby, without really being conscious, a person may be munching something on an ongoing basis. Obviously, this is highly facilitated by the way we live in our society right now, where food is so available, right? It's universal, it's everywhere, whether it's a workplace, whether you go to a store, you go to a bank nowadays. Come on, I remember if you go to a bank and at the teller, they would have candies, they would have at the table in the lobby, right? They would have cookies. So everywhere there is stuff. And then if you're not mindful and you just had breakfast, but there are cookies there in that bank, you take them. There's some M&Ms on your work table, you take them. Somebody is celebrating something, so in the common area at work, there is food, right? So that mindless eating can lead to a behavior of slow accumulation of calories that after a while, it can turn your weight loss really into a different direction and weight gain can start happening, right? So this really point out to the fact that, yes, we've given you a powerful tool. Now your stomach is smaller. Now hunger is not much of an issue, but you still have to watch out. That's very important.
So basically, what we have listed here, these are kind of like the trap food that they can actually overeat. Is that what we are kind of trying to say?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are some ways of really consuming, calories really without paying attention to it, right? You're eating a little bit of something that has so much calories. I mean, you're mentioning here, for instance, milkshakes, cakes, fried foods, puddings, chips, soft drinks, ice cream, candy, right? All things that we love, all things that we love so much that we have them for our birthdays, right? And yet, if we practice this not only on our birthdays, but every day of our life, then obviously we're going to start struggling with the weight. Now, there are some bariatric procedures, like gastric bypass, for instance, that actually induce a severe reaction when we try to eat things that have high sugar content, refined sugars like the ice cream, like the pudding, like the cakes, right? And that reaction is actually called dumping syndrome. And you and I talked about that when we were talking about some of the side effects of bariatric surgery. So some patients may not be able to do that, but not everybody has dumping syndrome. And interestingly, not everybody maintains that dumping syndrome in the long term. So patients have still to be on their guard when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Irgau, now I think when our dietitians, they start working with our patients at least 3 months before the surgery, we also want our patients to know that there is another support that we actually put together. We have our virtual monthly support group meetings, but also our nutritionists, our dietitians, they're available. So their support after the surgery, how does that change in terms of their approach?
That's a very interesting point. As you said, one of the key components to our program, the reason why our program is a mature, experienced, and really high quality program is because we understand that post-surgery support is vital for our patients, right? And as you mentioned, we have the support groups, we have the availability of our nutritionists for them to see patients after the surgery. And also importantly, we have follow-ups with the surgeons on a regular basis. But beyond that, we encourage our patients actually to come to us. You know, one of the interesting phenomena, and you and I have talked about this in the past, is that sometimes patients feel really great about showing their success to their surgeons. Rightly so, right? They're going to their surgeon and say, hey, with my partnership with you, my doctor, I was able to change my life. I've transformed my life, right? I want to tell you that. I want to celebrate that. And that's a great thing to hear from our patients, right? But then patients may shy away from coming to us when they are struggling, right? Because they don't want to show us something that they have failed with, and therefore they don't want us to be disappointed with them. And that's a human reaction. It's completely understandable, but it is critical for our patients to know that it's far more useful for them to come to us when they are struggling, right? Because they need that support. We are all human. Life goes on for all of us. Some days are good days, some days are not. Some weeks are good, some weeks are not. Some months are good, some are not. The same with years in our lives, right, Kemal? And then when we struggle with life coming to us with many difficulties, sometimes we lose focus, right? We start eating in the wrong way. We start stopping exercising, right? Psychological issues come up. Relationship may be soured in our own personal life. Work issues may come up. When that happens, that actually sabotages our journey in terms of weight loss, right? And I see patients struggling with that, even as far as, decades after their weight loss surgery, right? And it is important at that time for them to reach out to us. We are their anchor there because we have the experience, and also we can bounce back their situation by listening to them, right? Which is an important thing by itself. And then we can provide them tools for them really to overcome the struggles at that time. Excuse me.
So I think that makes it, again, the whole point of why the multidisciplinary approach is needed and it's important. It's just patients are not alone. So patients are going through this with our care coordinators, with the nutritionists, facility, because I still see some of our surveys coming back to us. They have a relationship they build with our nurses, and that's how they actually, that's how they reach out to us. So, and anytime in this really important process of change, they can actually reach out to us if what we have standard follow-ups. if it's not enough. I mean, we do that, Dr. Galik. The interesting part of this is that when we have issues with anything, but let's talk about diet. When we have the issues with the diet, we actually talk, right? So when I talk to you, and you're not my surgeon, I don't have surgery, I'm not gonna have surgery, most likely. So, but they just be like when we do the intermittent diet together, that support is needed.
Absolutely.
And most people, I think many of us maybe underestimate the power of that type of sharing and getting that type of support, because it's extremely important, especially with this process. Because I think it was Friday when you mentioned that patient, and like when I checked, I think the patient started either February or March for the program.
For the program, yeah, I think it was February. Right? Yes.
So, and then, like all of a sudden, like less than a year later, you lose 120 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's the person.
Yes, it is. You said that in the meeting.
120 pounds is more than Richa. Richa's amazing in my office, so she's 112.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. So when you lose that much weight, and if you think everything is going to be just normal, that's not happening. And the same thing happens when people gain weight. So if we don't look for help sooner, then I think the problem becomes a little bit larger as the time actually goes. If we lose the time, if we waste the time. So this is again, it's all coming back to how we are treating the obesity. Is it just like the lifestyle or what we eat, or is it a chronic illness? And then people and society have to remember that this is a chronic illness. So there's no different than, yes, we make choices that makes it maybe worse. Just like the diabetes patient, when they don't take medications, they get worse. But no one tells them, oh, like, how dare you are diabetic, right? So
absolutely,
we tell them,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
You have to take your medication, or you have to do this. So I think we expect the same for patients with obesity, and that probably is the most important piece. Dr. Guy, I don't know if I know I kind of joined late, so if I took anything away from what you were going to say.
No, absolutely. I think we mentioned that. What I would like to talk to say, just before we conclude our conversation, is what you said about the struggles with the diet, unless you talk with somebody, right? Unless you really open up yourself. Now, that this may be difficult for people to do, even with the people that are close with them, right? But they can come to us, right? We are experts on this. We talk with patients all the time about this. So it is actually not as difficult as they may imagine, telling us they are struggling, right? Because we hear that, we know, we told them that from the very beginning that obesity is a chronic disease, as you say, that surgery is not a magic answer. Therefore, looking for that support is very important. And in terms of the things they can do, really, once we listen where they are struggling, we can offer, options. For instance, I was talking to a patient of ours, I think it was either this week or last week. The patient actually started with a weight that was not tremendously high. I think the body mass index was actually below 40, but she's diabetic, right? She really has struggled with the blood sugar, requiring more and more medication. And after really different diets that she's tried most of her life, then she decided to go ahead with bariatric surgery. She started with a weight of about 220, I believe. She came down all the way to 160 pounds, right? Blood sugar, much better control. Now, for her own satisfaction, she wanted to see the 150 mark, right? And she's been struggling, and that did not happen. And then this January, actually the weight went up from 160 to 160. And she was telling me how she felt really bad, lost the motivation, and stopped exercising even in January when this happened, because she felt she was doing everything, right? So we talked about where are her struggles. The interesting thing, Kemal, is that She doesn't actually start eating until about noon. She's not much of a breakfast person. When she eats at noon, it's usually an apple, a little bit of peanut butter, or something like that, nothing major. She really has her main meal in the evening. She has the protein and the vegetables, right? So if you look at her calorie intake, there isn't very much. But what happens is that she goes to bed a little bit late. There is a lot of time during the evening in which she is watching TV and other things, and she cannot resist snacking. It just, you find it so hard, right? And there are certain things she wants to snack, whether it's salty things, but they're all things that are not going to help her, right? So one of the things we talked about with her is we said, look, if the evening is the time in which you struggle most, it's because you've built up a habit of sitting down, watching TV, and then you want your palate to have some pleasure as well. You're just munching. So you're associating this pleasure of TV watching and the things you like to watch with this other pleasure, which is eating. It has become a habit. Habits are what they are. They are very difficult to shake unless you build a different habit that can counter that, right? If you build this different habit, it's going to be your habit and it's going to be very different. So what we talked about is, for instance, is for her to try to see if she can set a curfew, right? Beyond which she said, I am not going to eat at all. It's going to be a new habit. So she can take 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 p.m. and she can say, this is the last time I will have any type of calorie. After that, it's going to be water. Well, guess what, Kemal? For the first 2 days, for the first 2 weeks, even, it's going to be hard because she is going to be fighting that other habit. Yeah. But after 2 weeks, this is going to replace that other habit, right? She's going to forget the issue of snacking because she has built another habit. So this type of interventions can occur only if you come and talk to us and you open up of the struggles you're having. Because for somebody who was struggling with weight just at that 210, 220 level, if they are at 160, it's very easy for them to go back up to 180, from where it's very easy to go back up to 190 over time, right? So that kind of focused approach to all this is going to be very important. So struggle after weight loss surgery, is there? Yes. Is there? There is. Yeah. What is the solution? The solution is to stay focused, right?
I think that habit is something that we don't want to undermine because, like, it's been almost 2 months that we are doing the intermittent diet. So Monday through Friday for me, especially, is like there's no issue. Like, same body on Monday is doing differently than Sunday. Sunday it knows that it's going to have breakfast, and on Monday it knows that it's not going to have breakfast. So then, it's kind of interesting how everything is coming down to here. So because then I don't have to expect anything. So like it's just a lot of willingness to actually listen and understand what we are going through and what our body actually is capable of. Sometimes we also undermine that as well. But so these different challenges are always going to be there, but we are going to be here to help our patients.
Absolutely.
Now, I do want to mention this. So I do know that there are some no-shows and some last-minute cancellations. In the age of COVID-19 pandemic, we have zero excuses.
Yeah.
So I'm home. I couldn't make it this week yet to the office. And only for a couple of minutes before I decided to join for this.
Thank you.
So I felt guilty a little bit. So, but the thing was, I was thinking, if I was a patient, so I was gonna drive like 30 minutes for the appointment, wait for 20 to 40 minutes in the waiting room, come back with all that time. Yes, I have good excuses there, but if I don't have to do anything and then just turn my TV or my PC and then just talk to my doctor, there's no excuse. So I do want to just remind our patients, please show up for your appointments. Our physicians, they are actually available for this, just like an office-like setting. So make sure you activate your patient portal before your visit, because we put a lot of effort into this, and I do want to make sure that our patients are understanding our struggles that we are going through. And also now these events are pretty much set in stone. So Wednesday 3 p.m. Second and fourth Tuesdays 6 p.m. And then the first Tuesday for support group. And also Friday, I have the United Medical ACU update. So we'll be communicating with all of you. Well, thank you for joining us. Dr. Irgau, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kemal. Thank you. I hope you continue to feel well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Tanner, I know you are still there. Thank you. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you, Tanner.